what things have changed, and specifically we're going to take a look at the OECD view on that, so something new, and take a look at what they think about the global economy. And at the very end, some questions and answers. So feel free to reach out at any point with a question, not only at the end, but throughout the presentation and webinar. All right. So first of all, our November results. We are already now in December, the 1st of December. So these are final results in November. And of course, this is going to be the last month of the year. Typically, we trade a little bit slower in December because of the fact that the market volume, price movements are all a little bit different in December, especially the second part of December as we get towards the end and closure of 2023 and the start of 2024. Typically, volume goes down in the second half, price is a little bit more erratic, very calm, or suddenly big maybe volatility. So we tend to trade less, more carefully, or not at all. And typically we do trade first half of December and then slow down or stop in the second half of December. So yeah, we're getting close to finalizing this year's trading. So far, I'm very happy with 2023. With most of the systems we've been trading, there have been some small glitches here and there with ECS now, for instance, a small minus this month, but the rest, as you can see, positive, and that remains so or valid for basically the entire year. We've seen strong, robust performances in terms of our return throughout the year. So very happy and delighted with 2023. And also with November, Flagship saw an average about 15% after fees for the members that have been trading with us through Flagship. So 15% is great, and that's why I am a big fan of Flagship. It's true that sometimes we have a month that is slow, sometimes we have 0 or 1%. So maybe the consistency on the positive side is not as consistent as Athena EA, but then you have months that are really great and offer double-digit returns like last month. Now, of course, any past results are not a guarantee for the future, but obviously I'm happy with last month's performance in Flagship. The worst month we've ever seen, I've ever had, was about -3%. That typically happens once a year. On average, we've had for the last 4 years, because we've been trading this live for 4 years. So that's very lengthy, very long. In those 4 years, we've had one negative month per year. And the worst negative month was -3%. So that's very, very small. The average yearly gain we've made so far with Flagship is anywhere between 80 and 120%, I believe, per year. So, which is about 6 to 10% per month on average. Now, the positive results do fluctuate a little bit. So one month it could be 15, the other month it could be 2, but I'm more than okay with that, because I know that at the end of the quarter, or at least at the end of the year, usually speaking, in the last 4 years, we've seen positive results, very positive results, and therefore I feel confident to keep the amount of investments that I have with Flagship ongoing. And of course, I only do that with risk capital that I can afford to lose. Okay. Now, ECS, negative month, -2.9. Athena EA, almost 5%. Cronus EA, plus 8.1. And ECS Signals ended with just below the 3% mark and had a great first half of November, but a worse second half, because I think halfway in November we were up 5%. I'm sorry that my camera is not working, by the way. I've been very busy with trading. in November, and my camera has stopped working in the last webinar, just before the last webinar, and I tried to solve it, but I didn't manage yet due to intensive trading. So I hope that I'll have time in December to fix that camera so you can also see my face as I present this webinar. So apologies for that. Now let's go one by one through all these methods. First, flagship. As I said, 15%. Now it is an average across a wider range of brokers. So some brokers might be more, some brokers might be less, but the average is about that. And you can see that one of our accounts here with one of the brokers offers at this moment is up 251%. And you can see here the MyFX book account on the left, and on the right you see how it looks like on our website. And if you would click on the 251, it would take you to the MyFX book link. Okay, but you can see, yes, very nice. This is one of the accounts we have, but there are more brokers, more accounts we have. And this is just an example of that. So wonderful November. And as you can see here, November 2023, I think that this particular account made about 6% in November. So a little bit less than the average, but the average is in fact higher. This is my own account, my own members area, I should say, at Elite Currency, which tracks. I connected as many accounts as I could to the member area. Some accounts, a few accounts, I was not able to connect, but I think I connected maybe 80 or 90% of my accounts to the ECS member area. And if you join ECS, you will be able to see your own members area with the performance being tracked and monitored and updated. And you will have the same kind of view that I'm showing here. And yeah, basically 104% profits compared to 95% last month. So this is November. This is below is last month. So my particular performance is a little bit less, just about a bit below 10%. But that's not the result that our followers, our members had. They had a higher performance than I had because I have a wider range of brokers, whereas Nikita and the members who are following Nikita have a smaller list of brokers, and those particular set of brokers did better than maybe there are 4 or 5. I'm not sure exactly how many Nikita is trading with, how many 4 or 5 accounts, and I have 20. So his 4 or 5 accounts did actually better than mine 20. Okay, that can happen. So that's why I have a little bit less, but still almost 10%, I believe. I'm more than satisfied with that particular number. And also keep in mind that a few accounts I was not able to connect. So this is not all of my capital either. But my capital went up, my balance went up from 452,000 to 470,000, as you can see, from October to November. And the profit and loss went from 221,000 to 239,000. So that's plus $18,000 in the month of November. And there are a few accounts that I wasn't able to connect, so that total brings us or myself above that 500,000 mark. So more than $500,000 trading on this. And if you look at the entire capital, also including Nikita and the rest of the ECS team, we are getting close to that 1 million mark, as I mentioned already before. Now, Athena EA, steady as it goes, a bit more consistent than Flagship, but no larger profits, typically around 3-4%, still a great figure. More consistent, so nothing above the 5%, but nothing below 2%, plus minus, so very consistent. Of course, it is a grid system, so it always has that risk of eventually hitting a larger loss, which is why we always remove the profits regularly as a strategy, as a method to combat that risk or to counter that risk of a grid system encountering a larger drawdown or loss, or maybe even you know, not even a small loss, but even a bigger loss. Okay, so that's why we do that. But steady as it goes with Athene. EA hit a little snag, as you can see, in November, minus 2.92% in the month. Overall, it's still up plus 8.7 since August this year, which is now basically August, September, October, 4 months, which is not a lot. It's about 2.1% on average per month. And yeah, it had some drawdown, as you can see, in November or October. But anyhow, the drawdown was produced with the previous version of Zeus. The current one, which we're using now, works differently. And we have updated that to basically tackle the grid trading a little bit differently. So if we are in short positions, for instance, and the price rises against our short positions, in the past, the system continued opening more shorts. Okay, so it's a great system, right? Now we have put a max to that, and it opens a maximum of nine shorts. And on the 10th, if there is a 10th trade, there is a hard stop loss added, and we open a single position, a long position, to hedge that. So this is in a way called what we call a recovery mode. And yeah, basically we try to limit the losses that can be encountered with this grid system on gold. And yeah, we've seen better results on the whole with this particular new updated version. Okay, otherwise it's the same system as in the past. This is the only update, and we're going to we will continue with this system, of course, with the updated version in December. ECS Live, as I said, we were doing better halfway November. We had a little bit of a drawdown in the second part of November, but still closed in positive territory with 2.9%, 2.89% in November. We've been trading this for a long time. Of course, it has had its ups and downs. Now we've recently had some higher highs and higher lows. So hopefully this will continue with ECS Live signals, which can be followed for free on Telegram. And I added Cronus EA. We've had now 6 months, a half a year of live trading. So why not add this overview of the live performance? It's up 23% in 6 months. Average is about 3.58% per month. Drawdown 12.6%. And we've had a stellar November with plus 8.1%. The best month in those 6 months. Cronus EA. I particularly like this EA and the style it has. All right. So very happy, myself at least, with the performance. As I mentioned with every webinar, I have the most capital with Flagship and some capital, a smaller percentage, about max 10% on the other EAs. But this is something that every trader would want to consider themselves. What kind of risk capital do they have available? And how would they like to, what kind of return are they aiming for? What kind of risk are they tolerant to? And we have a investment questionnaire that could be used as a partial tool, help to get to know yourself a little bit better, what type of trader you are, what systems might be interesting for your profile. And we have that on the website. But I'm a type of trader that likes low drawdowns relatively. And I don't mind, for instance, having some swings and the positive results. So that's why I prefer Flagship. But other EAs have also their advantages with the consistency, with diversification. So anyhow, Eurodollar technical analysis, next step. This is going back 7 years on the weekly chart, and we've seen euro dollar fluctuate quite narrowly between recently a low of 0.95 and a long time ago as high as almost 125. And those are the extremes, at least. Mostly price has been in between those. Typically, it spent most of its time between 105 and perhaps 120. Now we're back into that same band, basically. And but price has made a very strong downtrend, of course, in the past year. This drop back in 2020, 2021, 2022. Second part of 2022 and 2023 has been up. Most recently, we've had a sharp down and then up again. So it's starting to look like a head and shoulders pattern with here left. Here on the left here, the resistance, purple horizontal lines around 110. Ahead around 113, and on the right shoulder again around 110. So that's why I drew those orange lines. I do expect a bearish reaction at this head and shoulders level to test those Fibonacci levels, minus 272, probably to minus 61.8, in a 5-wave pattern. That's why there are 5 orange arrows going down, probably to the minus 61.8, which is parity around 1000 plus minus. And that's where I would expect a bullish bounce again in 5 waves up to the next resistance level at around 117, 120. And that's why at that point I expect again a bearish reaction which is why there is a orange arrow from that particular area. Okay. So how long could this play out? These patterns could easily be another year, 1.5 years. So we're looking quite far ahead. It's a weekly chart. And then, of course, it's difficult to say what will happen again in 1.5 years from now. Let's see first how this plays out, the next steps here that I mentioned. This is my expectation. Price action confirmation is always needed to confirm these patterns, these price patterns. But this is my forecast, let's say, for the euro dollar. All right. Regarding the global economy, well, some challenges ahead. This is from the OECD, and it shows the projected global GDP growth for next year, 2024, which is 2.7. And then in orange and in green, it shows the same, but for 2025, which is 3.0%. So some growth acceleration in the year after next year. And the projected headline inflation in 2025, 3.8%, 8%. Below, you see a table with growth projections as a percentage year on year. And you see that the G20 goes from 2.8 next year to 3% in 2025, and OECD countries average of 1.4 next year to 1.8 the year after that. Now, the OECD, these are basically OECD comments that were published on their website. We're discussing the performance of the global economy in November 2023. And they say that the challenge ahead for the global economy continues, that basically the global economy continues to confront the challenges of inflation and low growth prospects. Okay. GDP growth has been stronger, they said, than expected this year, but is moderating now due to these 3 points. Okay. Tighter monetary policy. Finally, the central banks have been raising interest rates, so this is having an effect finally here at the tail end of 2023. Weaker trade growth, as I mentioned, and lower business and consumer confidence. That's why they're seeing some headwinds there. So in the eyes of the OECD, once again, this is not my own opinion, but OECD, the risk in the near term outlook, okay, remains tilted to the downside and also includes heightened geopolitical tensions and a larger than expected impact of monetary policy tightening. Here on the right in the image, you see headline inflation. So they do expect that inflation will be tackled. And yeah, they see a negative trend, they see a negative continuation, which of course is good that the inflation is cooling down towards the usual 2% that I think most central banks have as target. And you see that the United States and Japan will be getting close to that 2% target in 2024. And the OECD will still be far from the 2% target, but of course is improving and closing that distance. Whereas now it seems to be about above the 5.5 now at the moment. It is expected to dip below the 4 in 2025, at the beginning of 2025. So there is some substantial improvement there. Last thing it noted basically is that there is an upside potential and that growth could also be stronger if households spend more of that extra savings that they accumulated during the pandemic of 2020. And of course, we had the pandemic impacting also 2021 strongly, a little bit of 2022 even, maybe the beginning, if I remember correctly. So yeah, OECD says there is a extra savings from that time. So if households decide to spend that, there could be some upside potential there. Another interesting thing I saw with the OECD website that they mentioned as well in the November outlook, or sorry, not outlook, but November summary, is that this is a mechanical simulation if there's no policy changes in the OECD governments. So they look at current receipts as a percentage of GDP, and they estimate that as constant, okay? But the expenditures are projected to evolve as a function of population aging. And then you can see what kind of projected change in net government debt takes place. And so that's a big, big rise. Not necessarily that much in the near future. By 2030, it looks to be about plus 13% extra net government debt if there's no policy change. But rising steeply, doubling, more than tripling to 40% in the 7 or so years after that, and reaching about more than 60% in 2040. So there's a lot of pressure on the treasury, on the expenses of countries, just because of the population aging. So, and here you can see how that is projected to impact the government debt. So that's why they say, in their opinion, their recommendations is that the fiscal policy needs to be prepared for future spending pressures due to that population aging. For the moment, monetary policy needs to remain restrictive to combat that inflation. And they talk about keeping the markets open, okay, to keep basically wealth, I think, of course, in check, so that because when the markets are closed, everyone becomes poor in general. But so keep those markets open is their recommendation, but also implement structural reforms to restore growth. So it's interesting, I thought, to share with you. Okay. Now, regarding elite currency, we have great news because TradeView and Active Trades, two PAMs, two flagship PAMs, the style of trading that I love so much are available. As mentioned 2 weeks ago, I said that we're going to do our best and not, work hard to make sure that that's available very, very soon. And the great news is it is available. So if you want to join without using crypto payments, you can do so without crypto payments now. So it's great. You can join now with one of the two. You have two options, and you can test it out and see if you like it. And with risk capital, you can afford to lose. And if you try it out and you like it, you can always add more risk capital that you feel comfortable with. And it's great that there's a choice of two brokers. We've had experience with both, and you can check out the flagship PAMs. All right. Flagship in a nutshell, 4 years of trading. And yeah, looks basically great consistency with 11 out of 12 months that are positive. And usually if there is a losing month, not more than 3 to 5%. So you can check it out. You can select investment, become a member, or log into your members area already if you are a member, and select the trading of your choice, flagship or a mixture of flagship and automated trading. But the PAMs are ready. So not only crypto payments are possible, but now also PAMs. And if you're not sure what a PAM is, that means that you have your own account. You open your own account with a broker. You confirm that account and you set it up as usual, as with any account. You add capital that you can afford to risk, and then you connect. You add that you basically connect to the PAM, put the capital on that PAM, and then it's traded by us, our team, through that broker. You have reporting and live tracking in the website members area. And this is really, really nice. Our team has worked very hard to get this members area to do that tracking, to have all the stats, very intuitive, very neatly organized, and reliable and precise. And you have all that information in the members area. And I think this is a very, very nice, a very transparent way of keeping track of all the investments. And yeah, I really, really like that a lot. So check that out in the members area by logging in or signing up. Okay, we have, of course, more My FX book links there available. All right, thank you all for joining today. And well, wish you great trading in December. Lovely holidays, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, I believe, less than 2 weeks, on Thursday, the 14th of December, correctly. See y'all soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.